Hi again, everybody. It's Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. In the last few videos talking about actives, I mentioned there were three different types of active applications in the markets. The first one, the first example that I showed was the actives of natural numbers, and soybean is a very good fit to the active of 7. As you move up the ladder, you come to 224, which is the Venus cycle. 224 days heliocentric. That cycle is very important in this market. Also, you may want to experiment with that. I might do a video or two on that. Then the other active that we looked at were the periodic table structure. Now that's a different structure. It's technically not a true active with a doubling of frequency, but it works very well because of the harmonic nature of the matter that everything is built upon, which is the elements of the periodic table. Today I want to take a look at the actives that are created by the market swings themselves. So you can see I put a fib tool up here with just the regular diatonic ratios. I took a major low from October of 21 and the initial high at the end of the first swing before the consolidation, and that was in February of 22. Okay, I made the Fa and the La tones green, and the So tone is in red, the 50% level. So once we get into this consolidation, we can apply this fib tool somewhere here in, say the mid-March or whatever. We can take a look at what retracement levels may be, as we can see that we're starting to retrace here. So what happens, again, the key level here as we return to that La tone, it bounces off minor resistance at the T level and then up to the octave again, up to Do. Couldn't quite get there. When it can't quite get there and rolls over, that's a retest failure. So that's a trade signal right there. And then what are we going to initially target? We're going to target the La level once again. So then we got temporary support at T when we rolled over, made a little bit of a flag pattern and broke down. And what happened? It fell short of the La level and started to turn up. Well, that's an indication it's going to go back up again. We hit the Do, back to the T, we bounce around. Once we do this back and forth at those levels, when we do a back and forth at those levels, now the outcome is in question. Now you have to look for a breakout point from there. So what happens? We move up and take out that active level. We get one close, two closes above the octave, but we can't get to the Ray tone, which is going to give us the shock we need to continue to ascend in price. So what happens? We close back below the Do and the T. That's our indication right here on this bar. This bar right here, the first close below Do now, that we're going to probably go back down. So what happens? This is a little difficult. It looks like a big gap, but this was right at the point of the contract change. So this is where I went from the July to November contract. And we got this gap is a little bit overextended, but you can see then we got a little minor support at the So level. Then we went down, broke through the Fa, and actually got support at the Mi level. So we got 3 hits at the Mi level, and then we went back to So, back to the Fa, back to So. So you can see how these levels are super important in the market. Now I'm going to overlay the same fib tool. I'm going to overlay it over the So to Do active. We'll see what that looks like. So there's the overlaid fib tool. You can see the smaller active overlaid between the So and the Do. area of the larger octave. Again, here's our fa and la point of confluence. You can see that was an important area of support there. And then you can see how the smaller octave gives you these other support and resistance areas where these minor highs and lows came in, and the price action bounced off of that. Okay, so that was the last thing I wanted to show, was one of the natural octaves, and this octave is going to be effective until we break this range that we've measured to. Now once this high was put in, then the fib tool gets moved. Let me realign now. We'll take a look at that, because that's going to change our output of what we're looking at here. So this is an important point to make. So now I've taken the fib tool and moved it to the higher high here, the major high from early June. And you can see the difference, what we've done here. This shifted a little bit. Now we're getting some more activity around the file level. You see we've got the gap here, we've got the high here, and we've got support here on these last two lows. Whereas if you remember before, the important support was at the me level, and we're not seeing that right now. Let me bring in the smaller octave fib tool. Okay, now we've moved out of the upper octave, the so to do octave, and now we're trading in the me so octave. So I overlaid the fib tool over the me and so tone levels, and you can see how those inner octave levels impact the market here. Now you could also put a tool in and look at the octave below the rate of me level, but I'm not going to really do that. But you can see the 50% level of that octave, where my cursor line is, basically caught these two lows. And now you can look in here and you can see how, again, the importance of these levels. Every one of these reversals came at one of these levels. Okay, so that's it for that. I'm going to make a couple more points. I'm going to give a little bit on music background and talk about the keynote. Okay, what I have on the screen now, you're looking at a wiki page of the chromatic scale. There are 12 tones in an octave area. If you look at the keys on a piano in this diagram here, you see the 7 white keys and the 5 black keys. So there are 12 half-step semitones in the overall chromatic scale. But when we play music, we only use 7 of the tones. And what 7 tones are used out of these 12 possibilities are dictated by the scale that the song is going to be written in. Well, each stock and commodity plays its own song, because each one of those is controlled by a certain musical scale. And what happens there is, in order to make that work and make that a practical application, you have to find the keynote of the market. Once you find the keynote, you can determine what scale is operational in that market, and that would be the one that you apply to your price chart. So what I've done, I've used the Pythagorean diatonic in what I've shown so far. I haven't shown a specific example of a keynote and the application of the proper scale. But let me give you one example of how that might change the tone settings. So for my example, I'm going to show you this F major scale, and you can see the 7 tones right here. So the root tone of the scale is the F. It's a straight F note. So the note, there's only one note changes in this scale. The B becomes a B flat. So you would substitute the B flat tone ratio in for the B ratio as you set your fib tool. Now the only scale that doesn't have any sharps or flats is the key of C, with C as the root note, and that is all the white keys on the piano. No sharps or flats. So let's take a look at what that would look like on the piano. Now here's the F major scale on a piano. Here's the F note white key. So you've got F, G, A, and C, D, E, and then the octave at F again. So the only tone that's flatted is B. So the B flats itself. It takes a half step down. So the B, the first black key to the left, would be the flat. If you're going to play a sharp, you would go to the right. So say, for example, on the fifth tone right here, the C, a C sharp would be the key to the right. Now if we were going to go here and call it B sharp would be C, but we don't really use B sharp in music, we just use the C tone, but that would be the same thing. So every tone can be sharped or flatted just by moving to the right or to the left respectively. So what happens now when you get into some more scales where you may have 3 or 4 flats or sharps, that's going to make a dramatic difference on your ratios on your price chart. So once you find out what that true keynote is and what scale that your particular stock or commodity is moving in, then you can successfully apply the correct ratios, and you're going to get the the type of information that we've shown on the prior videos. So I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm not going to talk anymore on the octaves, but I wanted to introduce this concept because it's not well known, but it's very effective, and I wanted to show you the musical and scientific theory behind the octaves and the law of vibration. So everything is based off of these principles. For more information on the octaves and information on how to find the keynote, all that is explained in the GAN Science book.